What up my ninjas, John LaFolkroy here, and welcome to my review of the Insecta Trifecta. Now this episode certainly had repetitive and stale elements to it, but it was all for a reason. First off, Stockman's insectoid armada definitely did not take off, but it was thanks to this conflict that we had a full circle episode. Not only do I love full circle plot lines, but it was also important to come back to the shredder at the end of the episode, and you have to admit that was pretty awesome. Now the second reason for this whole conflict had to do with revealing strong themes of teamwork and leadership. Here's the thing, the villains can't get their act together. Shredder hates his own henchmen, and Stockman abandons his own team. The turtles obviously are a different story. They never leave one of their own behind, and Splinter lovingly, if also mischievously, guides Raphael. I just also want to mention all the wonderful references that we got in this episode. There was Anthrax and Scumbug, which were actually shoutouts to the 80s show and Playmates toy line. And definitely shout out and applause, I don't know, to Andre Blackter, because if it weren't for him, I would not have noticed that. Now secondly, I noticed a little bit of some early 2000s-esque music throughout this episode.
I am your bond! You listen!
It definitely pulled at my heartstrings because it reminded me of the 2003 show Big Time. But not only were there external references, there were plenty of internal ones, like mentions of space heroes, Krognard, and there was even a Cowabunga store in the episode. But this was far from a perfect episode. Even disregarding the repetitive elements of this show, there was a huge consistency flaw. I'm gonna also give this one to Airspeed Prime because I 100% agree with him. How is it that the Hamato clan and Karai can have huge disagreements about how to handle the shredder, and yet they are super friendly with one another, and it's as if no one was responsible for Donnie getting hurt or anything? I don't know. Some of these conflicts are just too strong to just disappear. Speaking of disappearing, Shinigami really pulled a serious act right there because she was nowhere to be found when Karai got captured. And you'd expect, as Karai's second in command and right-hand gal, she would turn up at some point. Now, even though I found this absence particularly odd, I do have to mention this is a 20-minute episode. There's only so much that you can fit in that time period.
You just can't seem to keep away from us mutants, can you?
Though Leo certainly is the leader, he took a back seat in this adventure, what with him getting captured, not to mention he forgets about his own mission to argue about cartoons. Now, I'm not actually disappointed about that last one, only because I'm gratified that the writers haven't accidentally made these turtles too mature for their age. And speaking of turtles that are not too mature, Mikey definitely shone in his usual dense way. It's because of that it's so easy to forget how dynamic this guy really is. Like, check out this gleeful expression when he details how to help Raph. And then the smug expression when he gets Leo so worked up about space heroes. Now, there's one more turtle to mention before we get into Raphael, and that's the one and only Donatello. Now, it might have been Leo who started the patrol that night, but Donnie was the turtle with the plan. Like, not only did he have to remind Leo to stay focused, like, let me just remind you, he debuted some amazing inventions in this episode. Like, I actually cannot wait to see them in full force in the future, assuming the writers don't forget about them. Now, that's not all to mention about our heroes now, is it? April and Karai are the two human elements of the episode, and at least they shone in different ways, I'll put it that way. April actually blows my mind with how she's keeping up with the turtles and Karai, not to mention her mental powers. I will never get tired of those. Now, just for consistency's sake, I would have appreciated reminders of the negative influences of her crystal, but this is definitely excellent material to include in later episodes. Now, Karai I find actually a little disappointing. The thing is, she is still a tough fighter, but she's not as difficult to beat as she was when she was a villain. As Andre Blacknerd pointed out, this is the third time in a row that the turtles have had to save her. Doesn't really make sense. I'm assuming this is just romantic comedy fodder at this point for Leo and Karai, but I'm also getting rather sick of it.
これは何も
Minor detail here, why haven't Mona Lisa and Raphael kept in touch since Raph's been on Earth? You'd think it would be relatively easy considering they've sent love mail throughout the universe? Or maybe Mona Lisa and Sal Commander are just very busy saving their planet from Drake's now useless armada? Unless... As strong as Raph's feelings are for Mona Lisa, apparently they've got nothing on his fear of bugs. I definitely believe he is over the actual small insects, but clearly mutants are another story. It actually really speaks to his lack of self-awareness and his determination to stay tough that he didn't see this coming. That actually makes meditation the perfect solution for him. By repeating a mantra, he's actually calming his spirit, thus ditching this idea of always being tough. And by also embracing the fact that he is scared, he is perfecting his self-awareness. So the next time he had to fight some bugs, he actually knew how to deal with his fear, thus becoming stronger for it. Now there are plenty of you though, and I do not blame you, who were frustrated with this whole repetitive issue. Oh, Raph is scared of bugs again. But the reason why I don't personally count this as I said, a repetitive issue is because Raph needed this lesson. He, as we all know, the resident tough guy, he likes to power through his fear, but now he has tools to calmly deal with it. This is huge improvement for Raph. Now this talk about wounds of the mind from Splinter had me wondering if Raph learned to hate bugs. Now what do you think?
Damage to the mind and spirit are no less grave than injuries to the body.
The Splinter certainly is a very wise father for not only teaching Raphael how to meditate, but also giving him a personal mantra. And that personal mantra was definitely key in helping Raph overcome a specific problem. So yay, for Splinter really understanding his sons, but what was especially heartwarming was the fact that he was pranking Raphael and hopes to prank his other sons. It's actually really cute, much like Mufasa teaching Simba how to pounce. It was poignant, I think, for Splinter to give that speech, I guess, about mental illness, especially given the current stigma surrounding it. It's important for the current generation and everyone hereafter to understand how sensitive mental illnesses can be. However, it's still worth saying that mental illnesses, at least some of them, and even some phobias can't be cured with this realization that the pain is only as strong as you make it. Imagine saying that to Leonardo as he tries to get over his fear of failing his family, like, hey, no worries, Leo, the only reason why you feel pain is because you care about your family. Just let that go.
They like me. They really like me.
For a long time there, Stockman seemed like he hated the Shredder and was even scheming behind the guy's back. But as things stand, Stockman is actually very loyal to the Shredder and is somehow both like the most pitiful and most successful out of all of Shredder's henchmen. Like, Stockman is seriously so lonely that he literally builds his own friends who still mess up his name. But you know what, that's okay, because they become so close that Stockman ditches his friends the first chance he gets. Yet he managed to do the one thing that no other henchman has done, and that is healed the Shredder. So ironic.
Taking too long, Stockman. I grew severely impatient.
Just like the Shredder to be so short-sighted he doesn't even appreciate the fine-tuning of mutagen. But speaking of that serum, it's working some interesting magic. I hope the changes don't stop at turning Shredder into the Wolverine, because let's be honest, that wouldn't actually make him any more troublesome for the Turtles. What I'm hoping actually is for him to become stronger and even faster than he was before. Like, that would just be mind-blowing. But there is a certain irony here. Now, first off, we know that Karai, since she's becoming so obsessed with the Shredder, she's becoming the Shredder, both in body and in spirit. And Saki, being so obsessed with taking down mutants, is willing to become a mutant. And yet, how many times did he actually mock Splinter for being inhuman? Like, it's so rich.
Goodbye, my friends.
Thanks so much for watching this review, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed it. But as always, feel free to leave some feedback down below. But speaking of comments, I have a question of the day for you. As if, I didn't ask you enough already. Now here's the thing. The episode actually ended with the turtles successfully capturing the bugs. But what do you think they're going to do with their new prisoners? Until next time!